Greetings and welcome. We are back in 303. We turn now to Mr. Conrad's Unstoppable Volume Lesson, Chapter 51, Refuse to be Average. Let's begin in your journals really quickly with an observation. That would be our focus. Confidence, right? Confidence is one of the great keys to success. That ability to believe that it's going to be okay because you believe in yourself. And here in this chapter, we're going to see something about a life experience story from Mr. Conrad himself that kind of validates that. Let's read. I'm on page 196 of the volume itself. Refuse to be average. Warning. He begins this chapter with a warning. If you follow the advice of this lesson, be prepared for the sling of arrows. Now, I should point out that the sling of arrows here is a reference to Hamlet's classic soliloquy, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. That is to say, when bad things happen to you and you're innocent. These arrows can come from friends, family members, co-workers, and of course your superiors. I'm not going to tell you it doesn't hurt when one of those arrows hits you. It does. The good news is other people's arrows can't stop you. You are the only one who can stop you. So refuse to be average and choose to be unstoppable. I got hit very early in my teaching career with one of those arrows. To this day, I still don't know who shot it, but I sure as heck know where it hit me, right in the rear end. The arrow, shot from behind, came in the form of an award I received anonymously. The award was called the A-Hole of the Year. It was the only award I ever received from my school during my 26 years of teaching, and here's how I got it. As I previously mentioned in Lesson 2, You're Fired, I lost my teaching job after my second year because another teacher had low enrollment. When I got my old job back, I vowed to never let that happen again. I inherited a part-time job with 3 classes of barely 10 kids in each class. I employed several different tactics and worked endlessly to rebuild the program. Less than 5 years later, 175 kids signed up for my class, representing 7 full classes. Initially, I thought everyone would be happy the Woods program was saved. What I didn't realize was that many of my co-workers were sharpening their arrows. Having 175 kids sign up for woodshop caused 2 major problems. First, teachers only taught 5 classes a day, so I would have to be paid extra to teach 2 additional classes. The extra amounted to an additional 1/3 of my salary. Second, with so many kids signed up for Woods, many other teachers had dramatic drops in their enrollment, so much so that several had to pick up classes outside their area of expertise just to have a full-time job. Instantly, I became the target, and the arrows started flying. After all, as one teacher said, why should the woodshop teacher be paid more than the principal? I went before the school board to plead my case. The reason so many kids have to take my class is because of the Friday stories, I told the board. They agreed to allow me to teach all of those classes. I would have to come to work an hour before school started just to teach the 0-hour class, then teach the rest of the day without a break. None of this mattered to the rest of the faculty. Now, they were taking shots at the school board too. What some of you maybe understand is politics. Unfortunately, the school system is no different than any other workplace. All the workers must toe the line. No one must dare to be different because everyone must fit the mold. Striving to be average, I like to say. In fact, in many ways, the school system is worse than other workplaces. You're paid not by how well you do your job, but by how long you've been there. Best of all, especially if you're average, once you've been there long enough, you can't even be fired. Mr. Conrad referring to what's called tenure. Once a teacher has worked in a place for over 3 years, usually it's very difficult to get rid of that teacher. The problem with some teachers isn't that they're burnt out. The problem is that they were never lit to begin with. Well, believe me, the staff was lit now. They started shooting flaming arrows. The superintendent of the school district, Dr. Charles Grove, called an emergency meeting at the high school. Dr. Grove tried to convince the staff to put away their weapons and call a ceasefire. It didn't work. They started shooting in his direction. It quickly became chaotic, with arrows flying everywhere. The whole time, I didn't say a word. I knew I was the reason we were there. I kept telling myself, shut up, as I ducked from the flaming arrows. It wasn't until after the teachers' union at that time started spewing their striving to be average doctrine that I'd had enough. I spoke my mind. I had everyone's undivided attention, and not everyone liked what I was saying. The next day, the very next day, someone hung the A-Hole of the Year award in the faculty lounge. Since I never went in the faculty lounge, still don't. The entire staff knew I was the recipient of the reward before some coward stuck it in my mailbox. While most normal teachers display their degrees and awards in their office, I only have one, the A-hole of the year. It represents to me that I was the crab that got out of the bucket. It was a great feeling being out of the bucket, but that didn't mean the arrows ceased. When I first started the Unstoppable You program, it drove some people crazy. They couldn't accept the fact that other schools and organizations would pay me to hear those Friday stories. They tried everything in their power to stop it. They never succeeded. Which brings me to the point of the story. If you're going to refuse to be average and dare to be different, some people will try to stop you. Those envious people will be your friends, co-workers, family, or even your boss. I believe those people are there for a reason, to test your resolve. Basically, you have one of two choices. You can cave in, quit, and accept being stoppable, or you can refuse to be average and choose to be unstoppable. The choice is yours, but you were not created to be average. Read that line again. You were not created to be average. Since receiving the A-hole of the Year award, I've spoken to well over 100 different schools and organizations in half a dozen states as of this writing. By the way, this number has changed dramatically since the publishing of this book. I've shaken the hands of close to 100,000 people who I personally challenged to be unstoppable. So I owe a tiny bit of gratitude to all those arrow slingers. They were the fuel that kept my fires of desire burning. My challenge to you is to take all of those negative forces in your life and throw them into your fire of burning desire. It will transform you into becoming a master of emotions. And then finally, Mr. Conrad points out the cream that rises to the top is the unstoppable you. Let's pause for a moment in your journals and just jot down several observations here. Notice, first of all, the power of a positive model. When you look at somebody who has made it and you say, whoa, if he or she made it, then I can make it. Think about all the important people you've been introduced to in the 12 years of high school. I'm sorry, the 12 years of school, from your kindergarten years on. Think of all the important people who have been highlighted for you, and think and ask this question: how many of those people had to overcome unbelievable obstacles to get to where they needed to get to? Of course, some of our greatest examples are our presidents. We think, of course, of that 16th president, the most maybe influential of them all, Mr. Abraham Lincoln, who overcame so many obstacles to make it. Number two, think about the power of a negative model. I've often said to seniors, this is often forgotten. Look at the people you don't want to be like. And instead of ridiculing them, or making fun of them, or even feeling sorry for them, simply say, I won't be them. The power of a negative model. I ain't going to be that. Whatever happens, that ain't going to be my life. The power of a negative model. Number three, you were not born to be average. Internalize that. Write it on a sheet of paper and stick it next to your bed. Remind yourself for the rest of your life, that's not what you were born to be, just like everyone else average. You were born to be something quite remarkable if you choose to be. And that, of course, is foundational to the understanding of the Unstoppable program. And then finally, building your confidence, guys, really, it takes time, and you have to go through the negative energy, the fires, as he calls it. You've got to go through that process, right? Think about any great accomplishment you've had, and think about how it started out negative, a challenge, almost impossible, and somehow you made it. Well, there you go. Lesson 51, refuse to be average. It's a great exhortation from Mr. Conrad. Thank you.